Hello, and thanks for joining us. We know you're probably here because you've heard about something deeply concerning, something significant happening in the academic world, and you're looking for some clarity.
Yeah, it's tough news.
It really is. We're diving straight into it today. The recent death of Aniket Walkar at IIT Kharagpur.
He was just 22, a fourth-year student, found in his hostel room on Sunday, April 20th, 2025.
That was in the Jagadish Chandra Bose Hall of Residence, and the initial reports, well, the police are suspending suicide.
And that's what's so jarring, isn't it? Because, everything we hear about Aniket suggests he was doing really well.
Exactly. He was apparently a top student, a nine-pointer, they call it, right? In a demanding dual-degree program, ocean engineering and naval architecture.
Uh-huh. And not just academically strong. He'd already secured a job offer. Think about that. Fourth year, job sorted.
And his final exams were literally starting the next day, on Monday. He'd even been socializing with friends that same weekend. It doesn't seem to add up on the surface.
No, it really doesn't. It challenges, our assumptions about who might be struggling.
Hmm.
Outward success, it seems, isn't always the whole picture.
So how was he found? What are the details there?
Well, apparently his friends got worried on Sunday evening. His door was locked. He wasn't responding.
Okay.
So they alerted campus security, who then called the local police. They had to force entry into the room.
And that's when they found him, hanging.
Yes. They rushed him to the campus hospital, the BC Roy Technology Hospital, but sadly, it was too late. They couldn't revive him.
Just awful. And the police formalities?
They've registered it as an unnatural death case, which is standard procedure. A post-mortem was scheduled for the Tuesday, April 22nd.
At Midnapore Medical College and Hospital.
That's right. His family had arrived by then the day after it happened. They were present for the post-mortem, which must have been just incredibly difficult.
Unimaginable. And you mentioned this. This isn't the first time something like this has happened at IIT Kharagpur recently, is it?
No, tragically it's not. And that's what makes this even more alarming. It feels like part of a pattern.
A pattern we really need to look at. Okay, so let's unpack that. What other incidents are we talking about?
Well, just a few months earlier, back in January 2025, January 12th to be exact.
Okay.
Shan Malik, he was 21, a third-year electrical engineering student from Kolkata, found hanging in his room in Azad Hall.
Another bright student.
Very much so. Like Aniket, an academic star, CGPA over 9. His parents said he sounded fine when he spoke to his mother the night before.
And they found him.
Yes, his parents visited him every Sunday. They made the discovery. Again, ruled a suicide, but no clear reason, no note, nothing obvious.
That's heartbreaking. 2 incidents, similar circumstances, just months apart.
And gets back further. In June 2024, June 17th, Devika Pillai.
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, 21 years old, third-year biotechnology student from Kerala. Found hanging in her hall, Sarojini Naidundira Gandhi Hall.
Academically gifted as well, wasn't she? And involved in hostile leadership.
Exactly, another high achiever. Again, ruled suicide. But what really caused upset then was the Institute's response.
Ah, the condolence email. I remember the criticism.
Yes. Students felt it was just a generic, almost like a copy-paste message, like it had been used before. It felt impersonal, disconnected.
That detail, the copy-paste email, it really says something, doesn't it? Maybe about how these repeated tragedies are being processed, or maybe not processed, institutionally.
It certainly raises questions. Does it signal a system just overwhelmed? Or a sort of administrative numbness? A lack of genuine engagement with the individual loss?
You wonder if the weight of each death is truly landing.
It's a fair question. And then, before Devika, in October 2023, K. Kiran Chandra, fourth-year electrical engineering student from Telangana, found dead in his room, also suspected suicide.
So that's 4. Shayan, Devika, Kiran Chandra, and now Aniket.
And then there's the case of Faizan Ahmed. That one is, well, it's particularly disturbing.
Right. Faizan died back in October 2022, third-year mechanical engineering from Assam. Initially, that was also treated as a suicide, wasn't it?
It was, but his family never accepted it. They fought relentlessly.
And they pushed for another investigation?
They did. They got the Calcutta High Court to order a second autopsy, and the results were shocking.
What did they find?
Evidence of stab wounds and a gunshot wound.
Yeah.
It completely changed everything.
So not suicide at all, potentially homicide.
Exactly. Which obviously casts a huge shadow over how that initial investigation was handled and raises serious concerns about the Institute's processes back then.
Wow. So looking at all of these together, Shan, Devika, Kiran Chandra, the Faizan Ahmed case being reevaluated, and now Aniket, it's impossible to see them as just isolated tragedies.
No, you really can't. 5 deaths in, what, roughly 2.5 years? with serious questions around at least one, maybe more. It points towards something deeper, doesn't it? Something systemic maybe within the IIT Kharagpur environment itself.
It forces you to ask about the pressure, doesn't it? The environment these students are in.
Absolutely. IITs are legendary for academic rigor. They attract the absolute brightest kids from across India.
Which means intense competition, sky-high expectations, not just from faculty, but from peers, family, themselves.
And there's often this, unspoken culture where your worth feels tied directly to your grades, your CGPA, landing that top-tier job offer.
You can almost feel that pressure cooker atmosphere.
Yeah.
Constant evaluation, surrounded by hyper-driven peers.
Add to that living away from home, maybe for the first time, in a hostel, potential feelings of isolation, plus just the normal stresses any young adult faces: financial worries, personal relationships, figuring out the future.
It could all just magnify any underlying vulnerability, couldn't it?
Definitely. And the interim director, Amit Patra, he's also the director at IIT BHU, right? He has sort of acknowledged some of this.
What did he say?
He mentioned academic pressure, this drive for perfectionism, and also personal issues as potential factors in student suicides generally.
Okay, so there's some acknowledgement. But does that translate into adequate support? What are the resources like on the ground at Kharagpur?
Well, that's a major concern. The numbers we've seen suggest there are only about 8 counselors for the entire student body.
8? For how many students?
Around 15,000.
15,000 students. That ratio seems incredibly low. Way off.
It really does.
Yeah.
And this isn't a new issue. Students apparently raised concerns about the counseling services being stretched thin way back in 2022.
And it sounds like things haven't really improved much since then.
Based on that ratio, it seems unlikely. A system that's stretched means long waits, maybe not enough time per student, or students just feeling like it's not even worth trying to get help.
It's like trying to bail out a sinking boat with a teaspoon.
A good analogy. And then you add that perception issue, like with the condolence email after Sean Malik's death.
Right, the feeling that it wasn't a genuine response.
Exactly. Even if unintended, if students feel their grief, their anxieties are met with something that feels routine or impersonal, it can be incredibly alienating. Yeah, especially when they're already feeling vulnerable.
It makes them feel like maybe the institution cares more about results than about them as people.
That's the risk, yes.
Mm.
And another complicating factor, IIT Kharagpur hasn't had a permanent director since December 2024.
So Amit Patra is serving in an interim role, while also directing IIT BHU.
Correct. And we're hearing that some faculty feel there's a real need for stable, dedicated leadership. Someone focused solely on Kharagpur, someone who can really dive deep into student welfare issues on that specific campus.
You need someone whose full attention is on the job, right?
Yeah.
Especially with these recurring problems, lasting change needs consistent leadership.
Precisely. Someone with a clear mandate to prioritize well-being could potentially drive the kind of systemic shifts that seem necessary.
And we can't ignore the bigger picture either, the societal context in India around mental health.
No, that's crucial. There's still, a significant stigma attached to talking about mental struggles, asking for help.
So even if services were perfect, students might hesitate to use them, especially in a super competitive place like an IIT.
Yes, they might fear being judged, seen as weak, or unable to handle the pressure. They might internalize it all, thinking they should be able to cope alone. It's seen as a sign of failure in a culture that values resilience, sometimes to an extreme.
That adds another huge barrier.
It does, and it's sobering, but this isn't just a Kharagpur problem.
No. What are the numbers like across the IIT system?
Well, reports suggest there have been 12 suspected suicides across 7 different IITs in just the last 10 months or so.
12 and 10 months across 7 IITs.
Yes, and if you look longer term, since 2005, an alumnus named Diraj Singh has tracked the data. He estimates around 143 IIT student suicides in that period.
143 since 2005. That's a staggering number. It really points to something systemic across the whole IIT ecosystem, doesn't it?
It strongly suggests that, the intense competition, the pressure, the academic culture, maybe it's taking a toll more broadly than we realize.
Okay, let's bring it back to Aniket for a moment. It's so important, amidst all these numbers and patterns, to remember the individual.
Absolutely. He wasn't just a data point. He was a young man, apparently full of potential, already achieving so much, secured a job, doing well academically, had friends.
His death is a massive loss, not just for his family and friends, but for everything he might have gone on to do.
And what his friends reportedly said, that sense of shock, how did we miss this? That really hits home, doesn't it?
Yeah, it shows how well people can hide their struggles. even from those closest to them.
Which underscores why we need environments where it's okay not to be okay, where people feel safe speaking up, and where maybe we all get a bit better at noticing when someone might need support.
Seeing his family arrive on campus, you just can't imagine their pain. And the exams being postponed, a necessary step, but it just highlights the ripple effect of this tragedy.
Yeah, it disrupts everything. As for the investigation into Aniket's death, the police seem to be doing the standard things.
Securing the room, collecting his phone and belongings, checking records.
Analyzing call data, messages, things like that. They apparently use sniffer dogs, too, which might seem unusual, but could just be part of being thorough, trying to rule everything out.
And was there a note?
Reports say no suicide note was found, which isn't definitive. Lots of suicides don't involve notes, but it does leave more questions about his state of mind right at the end.
And given the whole Faizan Ahmed situation, that history, there's probably extra scrutiny this time, a need for absolute clarity.
Understandably so. The community, students, faculty, they need transparency. They need to trust the process, especially after past events. The postmortem results will be crucial for providing some answers, though maybe not all of them.
So, thinking about prevention moving forward, what needs to happen? At Kharagpur and maybe across all the IITs, what are the potential solutions?
It has to be multi-pronged. First and foremost, seriously beefing up mental health support.
More counselors, better access.
Definitely more counselors, a much better ratio. But also ensuring they're properly resourced, maybe offering different kinds of therapy, making appointments easier to get, and critically, destigmatizing using these services.
How do you do that?
Well, campus-wide campaigns, open discussions led by faculty and student leaders, maybe training faculty and even student mentors to recognize signs of distress and know how to gently guide someone towards help. Make it normal to talk about stress and mental well-being.
Like making it as normal as talking about grades or internships.
Exactly. It needs to be seen as proactive self-care, a sign of strength, not weakness.
And the leadership issue.
Appointing a permanent director at Kharagpur, someone truly focused on student welfare, seems vital, someone to champion these changes long-term.
What about the academic pressure itself? Can anything be done there?
That's the tricky one, isn't it? IITs are built on rigor. But maybe there needs to be a conversation about how that rigor is applied. Are there ways to reduce excessive stress points? Alternative assessment methods? Promoting a broader definition of success beyond just the highest grades and the biggest paychecks.
Shifting the culture a bit.
Yeah, a culture shift. And improving how the administration communicates. Moving away from generic messages towards genuine, empathetic responses when tragedy does strike. Rebuilding trust is key.
It sounds like it needs action on multiple levels, institutional, cultural, even societal.
It really does. And maybe thinking a bit creatively, too. Sometimes tackling serious issues needs innovative approaches to really engage students.
Oh, like a what? Counseling festivals? Stress ball mascots?
Maybe not exactly that, but, finding ways to make mental health support more visible, more integrated into campus life, less like a hidden-away service you only use in a crisis.
It does highlight a stark contrast, though, doesn't it? How quickly exams can be rescheduled versus how long it seems to take to fundamentally improve mental health infrastructure.
It certainly makes you think about priorities, absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's clear that Aniket Walkar's death, while a personal tragedy, is also a symptom of a much larger, more complex issue.
It's a profound human cost. He wasn't a statistic. He was a young man, his potential unrealized. And his story, sadly, echoes others.
It leaves you, the listener, with a really important question to think about. How do we balance the pursuit of academic excellence, especially in these high-stakes environments, with the fundamental need to protect student well-being? What are the unseen costs of that relentless drive for achievement?
And if you or anyone you know is going through a difficult time, please remember, help is available. In India, organizations like Sanjivini Society for Mental Health and Aasra offer suicide prevention helplines.
And within IIT Kharagpur, the counseling services, while needing improvement, are there as a resource. Please reach out if you need support. Don't struggle alone.
Our deepest condolences go out to Aniket's family, his friends, the students and faculty at IIT Kharagpur. It's an incredibly painful time.
We can only hope that this tragedy and the pattern it's part of truly serves as a wake-up call, a catalyst for real, meaningful change, creating a future where student well-being is genuinely put first. Thanks for listening.